Hare Krishna Mahamantra ki. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna everyone. So everyone can please come forward for the class. Everyone can kindly move friend. So first of all, let's warmly welcome His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. Jai. So today is actually, as announced earlier, it is Varaha Dwadashi, very special day, and tomorrow we have a very big festival, appearance day of Sri Nityananda Ram ki. Jai. So tomorrow morning, His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj will give the morning class at 6:30 a.m. on glories of Nityananda Prabhu. And then evening, the program starts at 4:30 p.m. with bhajans. And then 5 o'clock, we'll have a class by Her Grace Mother Urmila. That's at 5 p.m. And 6 p.m. we'll have beautiful Abhishek of Shri Gaur Nitai. We'll have some cultural performances. And then Artik and Prasadam. So that'll be a very, very wonderful festival. Tomorrow is a very special day. Please do not miss. Join us tomorrow evening. And also today our schedule is, after talk, we have 15 minutes performance below. We'll be doing Nityananda Ashtakam. It's very beautiful. So Champaklata Mataji and her students have planned a beautiful 15 minutes performance and then Prasadam for today. Okay. Thank you so much. So we'll start off with the class. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Haribol. I always wondered why people say Haribol when I get a garland. Anyway, I mean, somehow or other, I need to be informed. Anyway, it's okay. It's nice. Haribol is always nice. So, are you saying Haribol for the garland or for me? Anyway, so the garland's from the deities, I think, right? Yeah. So that's more of a Haribol than me. So, anyway, so as Aditya Narayan Prabhu mentioned, tomorrow is the appearance day of Lord Nityananda, who is Balaram Hoila Nitai in the original spiritual master, and no one gets the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, comes to the ecstatic platform, understands the conjugal love of Radha and Krishna without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, and Lord Nityananda is always going around preaching. Dudinahina Yatachilo Harinamu Durilo. He's going on book distribution. Well, so see Aditya Narayan Prabhu about that. If you want to join Lord Nityananda's party. I was just speaking to a devotee, a few days ago, who was struggling a little bit in Krishna consciousness. I said, the solution is to go out and preach. The more you preach, the more you realize. The more you teach, the more you realize. Reading is nice, but you won't integrate 100% or even a majority into your consciousness until you practice and preach, teach others. Because then you really learn the subject matter. I know in my own Krishna consciousness, whatever Krishna consciousness I have, but in my own Krishna consciousness, whatever I've learned, whatever Shastric knowledge I have, is because I was going out as a new devotee, pretty new, in the 70s and the 80s and the 90s, and distributing Prabhupada's books. And that really helped fix my mind on the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So please join Aditya Narayan Prabhu on his Nityananda Sankirtan party. That you can say Haribol about. So today, what we're going to be speaking about is the celebration today, which is Varaha Dwadashi. The fast was yesterday because it's on the Ekadasi. And when you have an appearance day or a disappearance day that follows an Ekadasi, you do the fasting on the Ekadasi because you're not supposed to fast on the day after Ekadasi, which is called the Dwadashi. So really important. So today we're going to have a feast in honor of Lord Varaha, a boar incarnation of the Lord. So we're going to tell the story of Lord Varaha. It's quite a lengthy story. Hopefully I'll get through the whole story with all the punches and the kicks. Isn't it? That's the most exciting part of the story. There's other parts of the story that are nice, but it's not as exciting, like the story of Kashyap and Diti. It's interesting, but when you can see where I'm a Kshatriya, so I like Paritranaya Sadhunam Vinashaya Chadushkrita. Annihilate the miscreants and having a good time in the process. So let's chant Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Nanabalaba Girivadurhavate Gopi Nanabalaba Girivadurhavate Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Banachate Yamuna Che Ravana Chagate Jauramu Madhuva Kunyariha Bhure Jauradu Madhuva Kunyariha Bhure Gopi Jana Malaba Giri Bharadhari Gopi Jana Bharaba Giri Bharadhari Yasodanandana Prajajanam Ramjana Yasodanandana Prajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Banachare Yamuna Tera Manacharate Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunnari Hate Jaya Radha Madhuva Kunyari Hate Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Teta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayama Kunda Radhakunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavanam ki jai. Mathuradam ki jai. Jagannath Swami ki jai. Yamunamai ki jai. Shrimati Lasi Devi ki jai. Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharane Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachati Shatarni Somaganat Midandasya Gananjana Shlakaya Chakshur Unmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, who so kindly opened my eyes with the torch light of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. So today we are going to speak about the appearance of Lord Varaha, the boar incarnation of the Lord. And of course, the boar incarnation of the Lord is one of the Dasha avatars, the 10 avatars that are mentioned by Jayadev Goswami in his famous shloka, which comes from the Gita Govinda. So, we see that the Lord takes various forms and appearances when he comes down to this earth planet. Some of them are human, some of them are non-human, and some of them are a combination. All right? You got combination. Not a singer. That's neither human nor non-human. Combined. So Srila Prabhupada comments that the Lord has incarnations in every single species of life. For those of you who follow Vedic literature, there's 8,400,000 species of life. And there's a lot of variety in each one of those species. I mean, basically everyone here is one species, at least the people wearing clothes. Because there are insects here that don't wear clothes. And there's microbes, and they're not wearing clothes or glasses or anything like that. So basically, we're in the minority. But Krishna has incarnations in each and every one of the species. Now, let's ask a question. Why does Krishna appear in each one of those species as incarnations? That's an interesting question. And of course, we find some indication in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you know, isn't it? That Krishna comes down, Parichanaya Sadunam Vidashaya Jaduskritam, comes down to annihilate the miscreants and protect the devotees, establish religious principles, and also whenever there's a decline in religion and demons come out, Krishna comes down. All right, that's true. But that's called an exoteric explanation, which means what everybody knows. But does he really have to come down as a boar? You know, usually a boar goes to filthy places, right? I mean, I don't know if any of you have been to Vrindavan. I mean, basically the garbage disposal society is boars or pigs. You know, and you know, I know people. Anyway, in the old days when they had to relieve themselves outside, they had to carry a stick to keep the boars away. So, yeah, it's pretty heavy, and the monkeys and everything. So, why would Krishna appear in such a way? Can't he have anyone else do the dirty work? Dirty work means like killing the demons, you know. Why does he have to get his hands dirty with the demons? Oof. So, the actual reason why Krishna comes down to this earth planet, actually there's two actual reasons. One actual reason is to attract us. So we see that God is a person, and he has personal activities, and he enjoys himself. Because if he didn't come down, we'd be left to speculate as to his nature, right? And we'd be thinking, well, God is everything, or nothing, or some guy with a big long hair is God. Forgive me for that one. It's just like, we don't know. I mean, actually, there's definitions of who God is. God is Bhagwan, all powerful, intelligent, like that famous, beauty, renounced. And so we can go around this world and look at everybody, even including the people who are declaring themselves to be God. And are you all beautiful? Do you get old? Do you know everything? You go around. Are you renounced? Not really. Actually, Krishna is so renounced that he owns the whole material world, and yet he doesn't have to enjoy it or anything like that. Because he has all these, what is it? Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Sambrahma Sevimanam. He has all these Lakshmis in the spiritual world. So what does he need a few little earth girls for? So, anyway, so he comes down to show us so we can say, wow, I want to enjoy with him. And he comes down ultimately for his own enjoyment, because this is called Ras theology. That means, Ras means you get a taste for different things. Why do we eat or like certain types of food? Because we like the Ras. Sweet, salty, sour, all these different types of food, right? We like to have that. And what happens if you mix them all together? You don't really get the Ras anymore. And I remember we were told the story about how renounced Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was, that he didn't want to show himself enjoying, of course he never enjoyed the material world, so he would just take all the prasada and mix it together. And sometimes in the ISKCON movement, in the early days, the day after the Sunday feast, isn't it? There'd be a lot of remnants, and we'd mix them all together. And so you had sweet rice mixed with the sabji, mixed with the pakoras, mixed with the chapatis. It was challenging, to say the least. It was actually extremely challenging, because we like to enjoy Ras, different tastes, distinct tastes. So Krishna also likes that too, and we're not just talking about food at this particular point. We're talking about the relationship, tastes of relationships, because that's ultimately that's what we're here for relationships, right? If you have a nice relationship, you forget about everything else. And if your relationship is strained, then that's all you think about all day long. Why did he or she say that to me? Do they mean that? So, Krishna enjoys this relationship, Ras. And these relationships that Krishna has, of course, we've spoken about this before, there's 5 basic relationships, Shanta, Dasha, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. But they're flavored by things like chivalry or anger or ghastliness. And Krishna likes to enjoy these things. And when he comes down to the earth planet, or to somewhere in the material universe, there's certain rasas that don't fully manifest in the spiritual world, like ghastliness. You can't have ghastliness in the spiritual world. It's not allowed. And you have a little play anger or something like that, but it's not serious stuff, So, therefore, Krishna comes down, and then he likes to dress himself up in different ways. Because Krishna is always, Naviyovanam. He's always youthful. So when you're youthful, sometimes, just like when Krishna was in Vrindavan, he and his friends would play like frogs sometimes, isn't it? And they make these funny noises. Rivet, rivet. Like that. And that's how children play. All right, I'm a frog. I'm a bird. And so Krishna has bird incarnation. And so Krishna enjoys, he wants, let's see, hug, So he's enjoying, and then he's also fighting at the same time. So, in other words, this particular pastime, as are all pastimes of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, are pastimes of the Lord's enjoyment. It's called Leela. Leela means something that you choose to do and you enjoy. Work is not like that. I mean, many of you, you go to work, this is my Leela. We have devotees here who finance cars. This is my Leela. I'm financing cars. What kind of Leela is that? Well, if they didn't pay you, would you still finance cars? No. So it's not Leela, it's business. So Krishna doesn't have to do it. Natasya karyam karanam vidyate. Krishna has nothing that he has to do. Everything is carried out. Prasya Shakti Vividaya Vashuyate Svabhavaki Gyana Balakriyacha. Everything is carried out by Krishna's energies. Different energies, and they're all first-class servants. He doesn't even have to ask them to do anything. They just do it. Up to karma. He thinks, I'd like this to happen. Boom, it happens. Wow. So everything is enjoyment for Krishna. The killing of the demons. And in this particular story, you'll see how Krishna arranged it so that he could kill these particular demons. Hiranyaksha, Hiranyakashipu. We're not going to talk about Hiranyakashipu today, but just Hiranyaksha. And it was like a dramatic performance. And then even Krishna, the way Krishna killed him, killed Hiranyaksha, he took his time. It's not that Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of God, it just went like, ping, you're dead. He fought, appeared to be losing at a certain point, and got everybody nervous. Oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? You better kill him before it's dusk. Oh my God, the demons become more powerful. And so, basically, he did it for his enjoyment, because he liked a good fight. Okay, so let's start with the story. Hopefully we have time. As I said, so it's a long story. So, once upon a time, even before we start with Lord Varaha or Hiranyaksha, let's start with Diti and Kashyapa. This is all from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And we're going to be skipping through different chapters because it's not all in sequence in the Bhagavatam. It's actually a little bit out of sequence. So I just put in my notes here, I put them into sequence. And also, just another hint, when we talk about these particular pastimes, there's an amalgamation, a combination of two different appearances of Lord Boar that happened in different manvantaras. So we're going to tell the story as if it occurred in one manvantara, which is pretty much what the Bhagavatam does. So, because the whole idea is not to present history the way we generally think of it in the Western world. The way we think of history in the Western world is everything has to be chronological. What do you learn when you go to the school? At least in America, it was Columbus discovered America in 1492. Magellan sailed around the world. I forgot the year already. It was all useless information. Isn't it? You have a whole list of dates. I don't know if it's like that in India too, is it? Useless. So what we do with Vedic knowledge and Vedic stories is we're not concerned with, what mantra it happened in. We're concerned with the Siddhanta, the Lord's pastime. Something could have happened in a different planet, something could have happened a billion years ago, something could have happened 10 years ago. But the whole point is, it's the Lord's activities. So it's not, don't think of it in terms of mundane history. It happened, but that's why we sometimes amalgamate two different things at two different, not we, the Bhagavatam does. Okay, there's the introduction. So, now we get to the story. So you got Diti and Kashyapa, and there are two Prajapatis, and their business is to create progeny to fill the universe. Okay, once upon a time, Diti felt very romantic, and her husband was doing his sanja. Everybody knows what sanja is? Sanja is done at the evening. That's what a Brahmin normally does. Oh, okay, Krishna Priya Ki Jai. She's one of the founding members of New Goloka. She was so austere, she was serving the deity, she lived in that little room there for a long period of time. Just to serve the deity. So, anyways, so many veterans of domestic wars. So anyway, so Diti got very romantic with her husband, inappropriate time. And her husband said, inappropriate. She said, I want a son. He said, not the right time to do this. So she basically grabbed his dhoti, or whatever he was wearing in meditation. Even after he said, just wait a little while. It's a sanja, because during this sanja, it's not auspicious, because Lord Shiva, who is Ashutosh and very merciful, is traveling around with some of his associates who are ghosts and demons and bhutas, pisachas, like that. And they are looking for different ladies who are going to get pregnant and to give these ghosts, demons, pisachas bodies. So really don't want a kid who's a demon or pisacha or a ghost or werewolf. Of course, that word's not used. But you don't want a kid like that. And of course, Lord Shiva is very compassionate. He's very compassionate because he gives an opportunity to all these different entities to take birth on the earth planet and to rectify themselves. But anyway, so his wife was so lusty that basically they had the relationship, and she became very, very embarrassed after it happened. And she begged Kashyapa, don't let my embryo be killed by Lord Shiva. He said, don't worry. Lord Shiva is not going to kill your embryo or kill your children. You're going to have two children. And these children are going to be demons. There's the bad news. You want to hear the good news? No, he said to her, we'll tell you the bad news first. So the good news, or the bad news, is they will kill poor, faultless living entities, torture women, and enrage the great souls. It's pretty bad news. So the good news, this is that your sons will be magnanimously killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Diti said, that's good, because I didn't want them killed by Brahmins. Because killed by Brahmins, you don't get liberated, but killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you get liberated. And then also she got told some more good news by Kashyapa, that your grandson, does anyone know the name of the grandson? Parad, is going to be a great devotee of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And so she said, this is great. But still, she was sort of reluctant to give birth. So for 100 years, the pregnancy lasted. She just didn't want to give birth. I mean, God, I'm going to give birth to these demons. And when she gave birth, the light of the sun and the moon was actually impaired because they were so demoniac. And actually, Prabhupada described, and Vedas describe that sometimes when someone really demoniac is being born, there's bad weather or eclipses or something happens that's really shows that a demon or someone who is less than desirable is being born. Okay, let's put that aside for a second and talk about what happened before their birth. And this story involves the four Kumaras, Chatushana. So these four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatan, Sananda, and Sanat Kumar, were on their way to Vaikuntha. Now these four Kumaras were not devotees at this point. They were absorbed in Brahman, okay? And so they hadn't yet taken up devotional service. So they travel everywhere, enter the spiritual sky, the doorway to the spiritual sky. And in the spiritual sky, in the Vaikuntha planets at least, everyone has similar forms to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and Lakshmi. And so they went through 6 gates. You know, there's actually 7 gates in Vaikuntha Pura. And sometimes even in the Western world, you talk about, what, 7th heaven? I don't know if anyone's heard that expression before. So somehow or other it got understood in the Western world. So they got to the 7th gate, and at the 7th gate, there were 2 personalities. Who knows their name? Jai and Vijay. But they had an anger issue. It's described in the Bhagavatam, their eyebrows were arched. And their nostrils were inflamed. I can't do that. And their eyes were reddish. They already were in a bad mood. I mean, I guess you're standing there all day long guarding. Kind of a difficult job, isn't it? So they were already in a bad mood. And these 4 sages, they were actually little kids. The reason they were little kids is because they refused to get married, and they just were so determined, and basically they made their father, Lord Brahma, very angry, and their father created Rudras, and that's another story, and also Rudras and Rudranis. So these 4 were forbidden entrance by Jai and Vijay. And so the 4 Kumaras said, these people are pretenders. They don't belong in the spiritual world because they're overcome with anger. So they're demons. So let them go somewhere where they'll be comfortable, which is the material world. When they heard that, they became very much afraid. And they became humble. Jai and Vijay became very humble and said, please forgive us. At that time, Krishna, the Lord of Vaikuntha, Vaikuntanath, came and he saw what was happening. The sages, first thing happened with the sages before anything else, the sages smelled the tulsi fragrance from the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they became attracted and became devotees like that. Atmaramas Chalana Grantha Rukme Kurvantya Haituki Bhakti Tam Muta Gunahari, as described in the Bhagavatam. Even those who were self-realized or self-situated or taking pleasure in the self become attracted to the aspects of the Supreme Personality of God, like his quality, name, forms, etc. Then the Lord apologized on behalf of Jai and Vijay. He said, I apologize. They've committed a great offense, and because I'm their master, I'm responsible for it. And there's also an important point that if someone is in charge of someone and they do something, it reflects on you. Prabhupada would sometimes say that in regard to a disciple who didn't act properly. He said, you've embarrassed me before Krishna. So it reflects on the person who is the master or person who's in charge. And so, anyway, Krishna appeared of the punishment, approved of the punishment, and he said they have to go down to the material world. And the Bhagavatam doesn't talk about the 7th verse or three births or anything like that. It's interesting, at least in my reading of the Bhagavatam. But anyway, that's traditionally the story. It's from some of the other Puranas. So then the sages left after seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They circumambulated the Lord, and the Lord left the situation. And Krishna, well, before he left the situation, he explained to Jai and Vijay, he said, this whole situation was foretold by Lakshmi. She originally cursed you because she came back from visiting someone, and you stopped her. I mean, it's enough that they stopped the four Kumars, but what to speak of Lakshmi? I mean, that's a major, major offense. So Krishna went back to his celestial abode, and the two doorkeepers, they went, ooh, bloop, as Prabhupada described the process of coming to the material world. And he used the word bloop because when you throw something in the water and it hits the water, it goes bloop. So sometimes when the devotees would talk about that, when someone left the society, a devotee would say, when did so-and-so bloop? It became part of ISKCON nomenclature. So these are the two personalities who became the sons of Kashyapa and Diti. And their names were Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha. They were actually twins, but even with twins, one is born before the other. So, Lord Brahma explained that. So when they appeared, when Diti gave birth, there were earthquakes in the earth, and everything was shaking. There were winds. And these two demons had uncommon bodily features. It's described in the Bhagavatam, they had steel-like frames, which grew like two big mountains, that it appeared that their bodies touched the sky. I mean, they blocked the view of all directions and shook the earth at every step. So Kashyapa gave them the name Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. So, that's gold eye and gold bed. In other words, one was lusty after gold, and one who likes opulent life and sense gratification. Imagine calling your kids that. What's your name? Gold Lust. What's your brother's name? Illicit life, sense gratification. So Hiranyaksha had a problem with temper, and he had a huge mace, and he went to fight with the demigods, and he went up to Swarga, but the demigods had left because they knew he was coming. So then, for the sake of sport, for trying to find someone to fight with, he dove into the deep ocean, and all the aquatics and the other creatures in the ocean got very, very scared. Finally, he goes to Bivavari. Bivavari is the abode of Varuna. Varuna is the demigod in charge of the ocean. And so he said, fight with me. Give me a battle. Let's go. He really wanted to have a good fight. Couldn't find anyone. I mean, sometimes you have these demons, isn't it like Bandasura, who just beat his hands against the mountains. And Lord Shiva said, okay, I'll give you someone. Who's going to cut your hands off? So it's chivalrous. I mean, these demons are not just like demons with horns on their heads. They had some idea of chivalry, which we're going to hear about. So Varuna said, I'm too old to fight with you. I've grown old for combat. But you should find the Supreme Personality of Godhead who will teach you a lesson. And you will lie down on the battlefield surrounded by dogs. And you will have an eternal sleep. These are all the words of the Bhagavatam. And so he became very, very enthusiastic about that. Meantime, Meantime, we have Manu. So all these things are happening in the meantime. We're amalgamating the stories. Meantime, Manu approaches Lord Brahma. He says, he's a progenitor, and he says, tell me what to do and give me a place where all the living entities can live, at least the human beings can live, because Manu is the father of mankind. Just like we have the Manu Samhita, the rules for human beings. And so Lord Brahma, he says, the Earth planet, but then Manu says, the Earth planet is submerged in the ocean, so I need your help. And Lord Brahma thinks about it. What can I do about it? This is the Garbhodak Ocean. It's not the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean or anything, because that's on the Earth. It makes sense. So the Garbhodak Ocean is the ocean formed by the perspiration of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, who lies down in the Garbhodak Ocean. So, therefore, Lord Brahma thinks about it, and while he's thinking, feels like a little sensation in the nostril, and something comes out. This is Lord Brahma, he's powerful. Something comes out, and what happens is that a little boar comes out of his nose. Little tiny boar. And in the beginning, it was just like upper portion of the thumb is described, which is about this big. And then he grows bigger and bigger and bigger, as gigantic as a great elephant. And that's the appearance of Lord Boar. And everybody's wondering, what is this? Is this some extraordinary living entity? Even Brahma was thinking, who is this person? And obviously they realized, based on the sages in Tapaloka, Satyaloka, and other higher planets, that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, playing like an elephant, or like a boar, Lord Boar entered the water where the earth was submerged. And he was roaring as he did that. And also it's described that when he dove into the water, the waves that came up, like if you splash in the water, appeared like the arms of the ocean that were praying to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And finally he went down, down, down to the depths of the ocean, and he saw the earth there. And he took the earth on his tusks and lifted the earth up and got it out of the water. Now, incidentally, something else happened, which is another story in the Bhagavatam, that when he lifted the earth planet, because the earth, Bhumi, or Krishna, the earth was impregnated, because Angani Yasha Shakalendriya Drichi Manti. The Lord can do anything with any one of his senses. He can see with his ears. He can smell with his head. It's inconceivable because he has a spiritual body. Our senses are limited because they're all like veins and nervous system. If you have some problem with your nervous system, then you have can't touch or feel with your hands or your feet like that, or sometimes people get paralyzed because you're dependent upon mechanisms. The body is yantra, according to Krishna in the Gita. Yantra means it's a machine. Like machines are dependent upon different parts. Like if you have a car and let's say there's no oil there, the wheels won't turn. Simple as that. But Krishna's body is not like that. So he impregnated the earth. And eventually there was a kid, and the kid later on in the Bhagavatam had to be killed by Krishna. Because he became a demon. That was Narakasura. But that's a whole other story. You can read the Bhagavatam in the 10th canto about that particular story. So, anyway. So, getting back to the demon. Same time the demon arrived to challenge the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he saw this boar here, bearing the earth on his tusks and robbing the demon of his splendor. And here's some quotes. I'm going to read some quotes here. The demon said, best of the demigods, the earth is entrusted to us, the inhabitants of the low regions, and you cannot take it from my presence and not be hurt by me. And he calls the Lord, you rascal, you think you've killed some demons by remaining invisible? Today, by my power, because your power is only mystic, I'm really powerful. The demon's saying this. He's really puffed up, as we say, proud. I will enliven all my relatives by killing you. Your skull is gonna be smashed. So this is chivalry. So you may say, how could Krishna tolerate these insults? He's enjoying it. This is one of Jai and Vijay. And he's just playful with them. I mean, he's not remembered he was Jai or Vijay before. He's thinking, I gotta get this guy. But Krishna's enjoying these things. Just like Krishna enjoyed when grandfather Bhishma was shooting the arrows at him. He took it like a lover's bite. He liked the chivalry. Well, this is really playful. Krishna's having a good old time. So he acted like he was pained a little bit, according to the Bhagavatam. But he got him angrier, and he rose out of the ocean. And this demon, I guess he didn't come from India. The demon had blonde hair. Scandinavia, I don't know. So says golden hair, and but actually some devotees had blonde hair too. Actually, Narad Muni has blonde hair and blue eyes too. So it's all right. Don't think that everybody with blonde hair and blue eyes is demon. There's some good devotees. So Krishna placed the earth, in a safe place on the water, and to make a long story short, because I have pages and pages of this thing, so there's back and forth. There's these words and hissing by the demon, and the demon trying to hit Krishna or hit Lord Boar, and Krishna moving aside, and so he's not hit. And finally, Krishna strikes the demons on the right of his brow, and the demon protects himself. And so enraged, they're both enraged, and then hitting each other with maces. And it's described as just like two animals fighting for a lady, for a mate. So you see this sometimes. You see this with elephants or cows, bulls. The bulls are going to be fighting each other with their horns. So it appeared like that. And so what happened is it kept going for quite a period of time. And Lord Brahman, the demigods, were starting to get pretty nervous. Here's another quote. He said, my dear Lord, no need to play with this serpentine demon, who's always skillful in conjuring tricks and is arrogant, self-sufficient, and most wicked. Kill this demon before the demoniac hour comes. Because we know what? Demons get more powerful when it becomes dusk, which is almost dusk. It's like the witching hour. Dusk and dawn, the twilight time. And devotees become more powerful when it's very early in the morning. It's called the Brahma Muhurta hour. Like about 4 o'clock in the morning, devotees get more powerful. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, because that's when the mode of goodness is prominent. Later on, the mode of passion is prominent, so you go to work. But at night, then the demons wait. That's why they're drinking and partying and everything, and people stay up late, because they're influenced by the mode of ignorance. Mode of goodness, you go to sleep early to bed, early to rise, makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. You like the wealthy part more. So anyway, so the Supreme Personality of Godhead was addressed by Lord Brahma and others. So after hearing all these things, Lord Boar just laughed. He said, I'm not worried. And he looked at Lord Brahma and the demigods, and he just looked at them with love. It's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam, and a glance laden with love. So enjoy yourself. This is not a show you're going to always see. So then, Krishna aimed his mace at the chin of the enemy, and the demon struck him back, and the Lord's mace slipped away from him. Oh my God. And then the demon, interestingly enough, he had the opportunity to strike the Lord without a mace. He held himself back. Because even the demons follow the rules like that. And because it's chivalry. It's like Kshatriya. You know, Kshatriya enjoys fighting. It's so pleasurable. Even if you get, well, I can't enjoy it. I don't enjoy it. But even if you get hit and you keep on battling, it's just like nectar for a Kshatriya somehow or other, or for someone who likes to fight. And so the demigods and all the others, you know, the devotees, we got very worried. And Krishna pulled out his Sudarshan disc. So he didn't kill the demon this particular way. So his Sudarshan disc basically just agitated the demon more. And the demon began to hiss more like a serpent, and he bit his lip with great resentment. So he sprung at the Lord with his mace and exclaimed, "You are slain." And of course, the Lord knocked down the mace with his left foot, or left hoof at this particular point, and said, "Take up your weapon again. Challenge me. Come on. Come here." And then the demon threw the mace again. The Lord caught the mace, and the demon felt very humiliated. And he took out a trident. Eventually he took out a trident. His trident was cut to pieces by the discus, the Sudarshan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then he hit Krishna, and Krishna didn't feel any quivering on his body at all. Just like an elephant would not feel a wreath of flowers hitting him. So this went back and back and forth, back and forth. There were fierce winds and volleys of stones, and all the luminaries in space became covered by all the dust from the fighting. Mountains discharged weapons. Naked demonesses appeared. I mean, it's a whole scene. I'd like to have a movie like this, you know. Not with naked demonesses. With tridents, and their hair was loose. There were yakshas and rakshasas. It wasn't just the two of them fighting. They had their associates. And then, because all this was the magic of the demon. So Krishna threw his chakra, not to kill the demon, but just to get rid of all this black magic like that. And then Diti, the mother of this demon, actually felt great pain or intense anxiety, and blood came from her breasts because she knew her son was going to be killed. So this demon raced at Krishna, tried to embrace him, but then, to his amazement, Krishna was outside of his embrace. You know, Krishna just like morphed into a different situation. And he striking the Lord with his fists. But then Krishna gave the killing blow. He struck him in the root of the ear. That was right here. And there's some bones there that if you hit, don't try it. You can kill someone really quickly. There's all sorts of different pressure points. So Krishna did that. And Krishna struck him indifferently. Boom. Yeah, not just like, but just, okay. Let's finish this whole thing real quickly, you know. Boom. So the demon's eyeballs popped out of their sock. Oh, sorry about that. Everything was broken, and he fell down dead. Pretty gory, isn't it? And the demon, anyway, he died and struck by the forefoot of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then the demigods, of course, offered their obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as a benediction to anyone who hears this sacred narration, and just read one more verse here. This is from the 3rd canto, 19th chapter, text 38. This most sacred narrative conveys extraordinary merit, wealth, fame, longevity, and all the objects of one's desire. On the field of battle, it promotes the strength of one's vital organs. So this is called the Shruti Pala. Shruti Pala means at the end of hearing a particular pastime, story, philosophical explanation, there's sometimes a benediction at the end of that chapter. And this encourages people to read, and it's true. So if you read this in the Bhagavatam, get yourself a set of the Bhagavatams. And there's a Dictionary in Peru. He will arrange for that. Or gift a set of Bhagavatams. Then you can read this directly and hear everything. It's a lot more exciting than I made it, because there's a lot more interaction between the Lord and Hiranyaksha. And it's a fight. You know, if you enjoy fights, whatever you enjoy is there in the Bhagavatam. If you enjoy love stories, there's love stories. If you enjoy fights, there's fights. If you enjoy benedictions, there's benedictions. If you enjoy tragedies, read the Ramayana. So, yeah, Ramayana is actually such a tragedy. Sita entering the earth at the end. Oh my God. It's just it's so painful. Having to go away to the forest. You're sent away to the forest, kidnapped by Ravana. But you know, it's enjoyable because you read about this, and you also appreciate the Lord's pastimes. And the Lord is even enjoying these things. The separation from his devotees, the vipralamba, intense. Everything the Lord does evokes intense emotions. That's the point. And life without emotions has no value. Intense emotions that are connected with the Lord's pastimes will liberate you. Isn't it? Satam prasangam mama virya samvado bhavanti vritkarna risayana kata tajoshandarasya apavarga vartmani shradha ratir bhakti anukramishati. If you hear about the Lord's pastimes, the Lord's heroic activities from the devotees, especially from Srila Prabhupada in his books, then you progress very quickly on the path of devotional service. Satam prasangam virya bhavanti vritkarna risayana kata to Joshandashu Apavarga Vartmani, and you'll get Shraddha, you'll get faith, taste, and ultimately prema. So, any questions or comments? Just on time. Yes. Yes. It's the appearance day of Varaha. I assume, I don't know if it happened on the same day, but his activities. You know, like when we talk about someone's appearance day, we talk about what they did, not simply he was born in 1776 or whatever. That's America. So, but you know what happened after the birth. Just like the other day we talked about Madhvacharya. We had Ramanujacharya the other day. So he appeared. It's the appearance day of Lord Brahma, and tomorrow is Lord Nityananda's appearance day. I have to go to India tomorrow. So that's why I'm only here for the morning. And the reason for that is they schedule the GBC meetings. If I don't go then I'll be late. And you know what happens when you get demerits. You don't know what a demerit is. Anyway, not really. But it's important taking responsibility for Prabhupada's move. And that's why I'm going to India so quickly after having come back from India 2 months ago. Because it's important responsibility for Srila Prabhupada's society. We have the GBC. GBC means Governing Body Commission, which we decide different policies for the International Society for Krishna Consciousness and help direct certain projects like the Sridham Mayapur project, which has the Temple of Vedic Planetarium, which is ISKCON's largest project, and I think it's the largest temple in the world too. So anyway, I will be leaving midday tomorrow. So any other questions or comments? Yes.
Just for my understanding, when you were explaining the story where four Kumaras went to
Yeah.
what I understood correctly, that four Kumaras were not devotee at that time.
They were not devotees.
So my question is, I just want to understand if they were Brahman realized or not devotee,
Yeah.
how can they enter Vaikuntha Loka, and how Jaya and Vijaya, who were already Vaikuntha can get
Well, first of all, they weren't Mayavadis. Mayavadi means someone who considers the Lord's body, personality, and everything like that to be illusion. They were more like what's called Brahmavadis. Brahmavadi means they're absorbed in Brahman, more or less what we would consider to be like agnostic rather than atheist. Atheist is against God. Agnostic means, I don't know. Prove it. So because they were Brahman, realized they could enter to the gate, not to get into the seventh gate. And then they had the opportunity. And actually they had a good family. Lord Brahma was their father. So they had a devotee father. So that's the advantage of having a devotee father. So then they became devotees. I mean, there's no guarantee that if you have a devotee father, that your children will be devotees. I mean, we mentioned Narakasura, who had a godfather, who God was the father of. Sounds interesting. Who God was the father of, and he became a demon by bad association. And there's other examples of that too. And there's examples of devotees becoming demons, like Vidvida Gorilla in Minda. They became demons and had to be killed by Balaram. So by good association, anything can happen. So, yeah, they were innocent. They were absorbed in Brahman and they were innocent. That's the difference. Okay, one other question and then we have to end. Rishikesh, you have a question.
Why Jaya and Vijay had anger in spiritual world? I mean, that's very material quality.
Because the Lord inspired them. The Lord inspired them. They were devotees, and basically, they wanted to serve Krishna. They didn't get angry when Krishna said you had to go to the material world. They thought there's more to the story, that if this will give you pleasure, Krishna, just like Lord Chaitanya prays, Sli Shiva Pada Panashtamam Darshanam Aramatam Karotava, that if you crush me by your embrace, leave me broken heart by not being present before me, you're completely free to do anything and everything. I just want to give you happiness. So this is the mood of a pure devotee. They wanted to give Krishna pleasure. Ultimately, that was their motive. And because of that motive, anger woke up in their hearts, because that was Krishna's desire. Because the interesting thing about pure devotees is their consciousness is perfectly in tune with Krishna's desire. And their consciousness was. So I guess that's it. If anyone's interested, we put a poster of what we're planning for the new temple down in the hall. You can take a look at it when you go down there. You've seen it? Okay, all glories to His divine grace. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Ki jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for such a beautiful presentation on the appearance of Varaha. And Maharaj so nicely presented like so many chapters from the third canto of Bhagavatam and such a beautiful presentation. So let's again express our gratitude to His Honorable Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj for such a beautiful, really wonderful presentation on Varaha. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Also, Maharaj mentioned, anyone here who does not have a Srimad Bhagavatam set, please take a set. And also, we have readings throughout the day where we get together on Zoom calls and we read Srimad Bhagavatam together, like evening 9 o'clock on weekdays. So you get a set and you can join the calls and read Bhagavatam with us. It's very, very powerful. So as Maharaj said, please, everyone, who does not have, take a set of Bhagavatam. We'll be downstairs at the book table. If you already have, you can sponsor a set of Bhagavatam, or you can get a full set of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Okay, thank you. Also, we would like to thank the devotees who have cooked the Sunday offering today. This is the Narsimha team, which is headed by Rajeshwari Radha Mataji, and they have cooked like a